Hello everyone, and welcome to another royal reading here at Mad World Tarot. It was all quiet here until 5 minutes ago when I pressed the record button and the neighbours started up with some DIY again. But anyway, we're going to soldier on, and I'll try not to get distracted and cross and just focus on the job at hand, which is tarot. We're going back into the mists of time today with the new Palladini Tarot in this one. We're going back, in fact, to the end of 2019 and the late Queen's Christmas speech. The little tableau of photos behind her, all very symbolic. It was always in, who's out. And in 2019, it was made very clear that not only was Prince Andrew out, he was in disgrace at the time, but also Harry and Meghan and baby Archie. Now, the Daily Mail has been dredging up these tales from the past, which is why I'm reading on this story today, and another 29 story in the next reading today. But those photos were the Queen's way of communicating pleasure and displeasure about her family members to the wider public and to them, and everybody knew this. So apparently when she scanned the photo display, she said, that one, pointing at the Harry and Meghan and baby Archie one, I suppose we don't need that one. And this message was received first of all by Prince William with shock. He couldn't believe that the photo had been removed. He said to Catherine, Harry will be devastated when he sees this. Harry and Meghan were, of course, spending Christmas in Canada that year after their somewhat unsuccessful tour of South Africa. Things had got quite bad with their relationship with the royal family by then. And so William predicted that there would be a Category 5 tantrum. And there was a Category 5 tantrum because Harry was shocked and upset when he watched the Queen's speech and realised no photo of him and Meghan and Archie, only photos of the direct heirs, the direct line of succession. And he felt, allegedly, and told people that he believed he was being erased from the family and forced to make his own way in the world. And the tantrum came, of course, with the Megxit announcement on Harry and Meghan's Instagram. So I'm going to do a Celtic cross. I've got the new Palladini Tarot on the tarot table. I want to look at it from the Queen's point of view, because to me, and I'm probably reading too much into this Daily Mail article, but it's interesting that Archie is mentioned. The photo was of Harry and Meghan and Archie, and I'm wondering, one of the reasons why the Queen thought that photo couldn't be displayed for all eternity, basically, it was because of the mystery around Archie. I'm just wondering, but I'm going to do a general Celtic cross and see if anything like that pops up. I will ask the question directly, but I want to know what she was thinking, what message she was sending to Harry and Meghan, what had upset her, what made her reach this decision, how Harry responded, how the Queen felt ultimately when Harry and Meghan went off in their huff, first of all to Canada and then to California. How did she feel about all of this? What was really going on? So that's where we're heading today. We're heading back to 2019. It seems like a different world, a different lifetime. I think we're good to go. And we have to remind you, of course, tarot, just entertainment, just opinion, my opinion, just energy we read here, and disclaimer in the box below. But it was a turning point for Harry. This is where things soured. And he realized that he was no longer welcome in the royal family, his view of it, and he was alone in the world, cast out, and would have to fend for himself. So it was a big deal at the time, and I think still rankles. You know, we get the constant apology thing. We got the Eight of Swords in reverse as our underlying energy. I'm reading from the Queen's point of view. A trap. Eight of Swords, when it's upright, somebody in a predicament where they can't maybe envisage a way out of a predicament. It's in reverse. She was freeing herself from something that she felt was extremely difficult, extremely awkward. My mind immediately springs to baby Archie and the mystery around his birth, yet again. Because this is somebody who found themselves in a very difficult situation, the late Queen, and then figured a way out. Interesting. Interesting. I need to show you that card as well, apparently. The Tower. And it's the Tower in reverse. The Tower is the shock and the disaster. But in reverse, it's kind of preventing it, offsetting it. And if certain truths, as I believe them to be, my personal opinion, certain truths had emerged at that time, it could have been a very, very perilous moment for the royal family, in my opinion, and may yet be in future. But let's have a look at the situation the Queen found herself in back in the day, and we got the Page of Swords, and this is in reverse. And this is her being in a situation where she needed to communicate something. Pages are communication, but communicate in a very subtle way through this kind of visual messaging. She couldn't come out right and say, I don't trust you, I don't like what you've done, you've let us down, you've been whatever, whatever, whatever. But she could send the message more subtly and more indirectly. But she found herself threatened. Page of Swords is a card of threats, where you feel that you're unsafe. You have to be on high alert. You have to be braced for whatever is coming to you. You have to be prepared. You have to do research and get your ducks in a row. And this was the situation that she found herself in at the age of 90, whatever, at that point, having to deal with this potential, my opinion, scandal that was brewing with Harry and Meghan, and in my opinion, baby Archie, and some of the other things that they were possibly getting up to that were quite shady, again, my opinion. What was the particular problem she was facing? And we've got the 10 of Rods in reverse. A terrible, terrible burden that was getting heavier and heavier and heavier that she was having to carry. And she didn't have the strength to endure whatever burdens they were piling on her. And it's actually really very sad. I'm feeling very sad as I'm doing this, kind of in her energy, and thinking how awful to burden this elderly woman with these things, possibly lies, half-truths anyway, sneaky behavior, openly kind of declaring war on the press while they were in South Africa, and criticizing the royal family before being unfeeling, all this kind of stuff. It was going to get worse, of course. She didn't know it then, while she herself was struggling with, as we later discovered, terminal cancer. And Prince Philip also was very unwell at that point. So she really just couldn't cope with the level of pressure that they were putting on her, and just really overwhelmed by what was going on. So I'm going to go down into the secret place. What was at the root of what was going on? We get the 7 of Rods. That's the high ground card. It's having to be prepared. I'm getting a lot of energy in this reading of having to be on the defensive, feeling that there could be all kinds of attacks launched at herself as the Queen, as the monarch, the head of the royal family, as a result of their behavior, having to really stand firm, having to really make sure that her position was impeccable. The 7 of Rods upright, wands upright, is about knowing that you are in the right. You can stand in your own truth. And if people start attacking you, you have that behind you. You have righteousness on your side. And so whatever was going on, she felt that she had to be absolutely impeccable in her behavior and make it very clear where she stood in relation to Harry and Meghan. And that is why the photo was taken away, in my opinion. What was the message she was sending to Harry and Meghan? Wow, the Last Judgment. That is a very, in context, a very harsh card. I see what you're up to. You are being judged. Your souls are being weighed. Very, very direct message. I know what's going on. Probably I know everything that's going on. I can't come out and say it directly because there's things like medical privacy. Again, this is my personal opinion that I'm expressing here, and I'm just reading energy, and we're going to put the allegedly sign on for this reading, and it's going to flash throughout. But I know, because in the Judgment card, your book of life is being read, and the angel knows, the trumpet sounds, and your deeds and your misdeeds are revealed, and they are analyzed, they are assessed. And it's kind of last chance saloon also. Shape up or ship out. The Last Judgment is the card of, you can get a second chance, but you only get a second chance if you wake up and if your behavior becomes absolutely impeccable again. So let's move to the lead up to this moment when the Queen said, take that photo away, we don't need that photo. What had been going on? Let's just see. We got the Five of Cups. It's in reverse. It's the card of grief and sorrow. A lot of things had been happening that made her very, very unhappy, very sad. For some reason, we're reading from her point of view, things that had made her very sad. I think particularly the Meghan interview with Tom Bradby, and we're going to look at that in the next reading as well, because the story of them possibly moving to South Africa has been recycled in the Daily Mail just today. I think the Queen was really quite devastated by this, that no one asked if I'm okay. It's such a hurtful thing to say. When I think the Queen went out of her way to give Meghan the best help. The ladies in waiting, Samantha the Panther, Sophie asked to help. Everybody she put the best possible team around Meghan. Gave her every opportunity. Went on the royal train with the Queen. Princess Catherine had to wait years for that kind of opportunity to happen. Meghan got the best of everything, all kinds of rules broken for her, and then she comes out and says something like this. And I think that the Queen was really quite broken-hearted over this. That Harry, he always says, oh, I'm her favourite grandson. Not true. If anyone was the favourite, then it was Peter, by all accounts. But hurtful, so hurtful. Really, I'm feeling very, very sad and hurt as I'm doing this. And no, I'm not sad and hurt today. Harry's response. Prince William predicted the Category 5 tantrum. Harry's feelings response. Nine of Swords, yeah. Stress, worry. Now what am I going to do? Things are really bad. As I say, we've had some black marks against the Parkles. And now I'm being eased out of the royal family. I'm being erased from the family. I'm going to have to consider my own path. And I'm quoting from the Daily Mail article, stress, worry, what's going to happen. Of course, herself was probably delighted, and finally California is back in the frame, and we can stay in Canada, and then we can inch our way south to California. But for Harry, this was devastating. This was very traumatic, just as Prince William predicted it would be devastating news. So I want to know very specifically about Archie. Did this take the photo away moment have anything to do with Archie and the mystery around Archie? I've got the Emperor, and the Emperor is father in tarot, interestingly. Father, but it's also the Queen in her role as a Queen of Queens. The Emperor is King of Kings over all the dominions, all the realms, all the whatevers. Her status, that it again had to be that she had to be impeccable in her role, to seem to be impeccable. If it emerged that there was some knowledge and some cover-up and some whatever, and then there's the Christmas speech and there's the photo of the Parkles and baby Archie, it just looks so bad. So I'm going to say, in my opinion, yes, there might have been a problem with displaying that photo, that it's better to just keep him out of sight, because we don't know what's going on really, and we don't want to be implicated in this mess. Ace of Swords and Tower in reverse. We want none of that tarnishing what's going on here. Also, I'm going to say, she knew what was going on with her health. She knew she didn't have as long as we all thought she did. The Emperor is Charles, and possibly the king in waiting, and possible difficulties for him with all of this, possible difficulties for William with all of this, difficulties for the royal family in general with all of this, but also just curious that the emperor is about fatherhood. And I know that there are question marks over that. I tend to believe that the children are Harry's children. Lady C very often uses that expression, Harry's children. So I think it's more about the monarchy itself than about Harry and Harry's role in whatever shadiness was potentially, allegedly going on. Pressure the Queen was under at this time. And we got the Knight of Swords in reverse. She had to act swiftly and decisively, and she had to be very strategic. It's very like the Page of Swords, which is at the heart of this reading. She had to be quite cold and calculating, much colder than she really wanted to be as a grandmother, as a great-grandmother. Knight of Swords is very strategic, very decisive, very fast acting. And this was a very fast decision, that one. I suppose we don't need that one. Very quick to make that decision, and it's a very cutting decision, and she needed to do it, and she needed to do it to protect herself and to protect the monarchy. And I'm seeing that with the Seven of Rods here. I'm seeing it with even the Last Judgment card over there, that Harry and Meghan were being judged for what they had done, and quite a collection of things that they had done wrong by that point, in my opinion. So hopes and fears for the Queen as she was doing all of this. She was hoping that things would calm down, that they would stay in the royal family, that they would find a way of being part of the royal family and participating in the royal family, that these kinks would get ironed out and their complaints and grumbles and grievances would be smoothed over, and the royal family would stand firm with everyone in that wide embrace, everyone on the balcony, everyone waving, everyone participating, everyone happy, everyone celebrating. She was, of course, quite wrong, but that was the hope. How did she feel when it all went south, when the tantrum happened, the category 5 tantrum happened, they exited? How did she really feel? Was she relieved? Was she upset? Well, I can tell you she didn't want them to go. 6 of Swords, but in reverse. 6 of Swords would be more how King Charles described Harry and Meghan in his very first speech on the day that he acceded to the crown, and he said, I wish them well in their lives overseas. Goodbye and good riddance kind of a thing. Not the Queen. The Queen saw that their journey overseas would not be successful. They would take their troubles with them. 6 of Swords upright, going overseas, but going into a more peaceful time, a more calm and just a healthy time. She saw that it wouldn't work out. She saw that. She's right. We are seeing that now. But also just wishing that they wouldn't go. So it wasn't like good riddance. I'm so glad I can wash my hands of you. It was seeing into the future, seeing that this was going to be very difficult for Harry, because Harry had no experience of life on his own. He had no world skills, life skills, any of that stuff. He didn't know what he was doing, and it was going to be a disaster, and it has turned out to be a disaster. But I think that she hoped they would go and then they would come back. And she gave them that year of grace that upset many people, myself included. Couldn't believe that she'd given them that year of grace to try it out. And if they didn't like it, they could come back as much loved members of the royal family and have back their titles and their roles and their HRHs and all the things that were put on hold for that first year. But of course, that's not how that worked out either. So a sad reading. And I do have my suspicions about Archie, given the difficulties in here and the need, the word that I keep saying is to be impeccable, that the Queen needed to be able to say, I didn't know, I had no idea, I this is the royal family, this is where our focus is. I was not supporting whatever Harry and Meghan were up to by putting that photo behind me when I was giving that very significant speech. Very significant because of the symbolism. So she couldn't publicly show them support in what they were doing. That is my very personal opinion. This is the reading, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.